doing what we love to do, and it's about cars. Whatever you love doing, that's what you do, and that's the culture we want to share with everyone else.
Hey everyone, this is a short review video of the ANKER Astro3E portable USB backup battery. Not to be confused with the other model, which has kind of a similar name, the ANKER Astro3. I don't know why they did that. They just took out an E to differentiate it, even though they're two different products. But anyway, this is the ANKER Astro3E model, which is a 10,000 milliamp power bank backup battery that you can use to charge most mobile devices by USB. Okay, now compared to other backup batteries in the market, the Astro3E has a size that's still comfortable to hold. You know, it's not too big, not too heavy. It measures about ½ an inch from the side. It's actually 0.6 inch, and it's kind of long, but it's flat, so it doesn't feel bulky. It just feels like another smartphone I'm holding. And I mean, my hands are, you know, I don't have small hands, but you know, I don't have big hands either. So you can tell just from looking at, you know, if you think that's too big for you or too small, or it can never be too small, but it's, you know, if it's big enough or too big for you. Anyway, size-wise, it's not a big deal. It's got weight to it, but you know, it's a battery, so you're gonna have to expect that. So moving on, it has dual USB ports right here, which at first glance, you know, understandably, you'd think immediately, oh, that's great. I can charge two devices at the same time. Well, there's some information that's not really, you know, found on like internet retail product descriptions. I bought this from Amazon. I didn't see this particular information about the ports, but here's something you'll want to know about it first before you buy. The two USB ports are each labeled Apple or Android, if you can see that there. Now, after testing this with 3 different phones, actually 5 phones, we found that both ports will work. Like, for example, you can have 2 Apple devices charging at the same time and 2 Android phones charging at the same time. However, there's some things it can get a little tricky because, for example, if you were to plug in an Apple device into the Android port, ANKER installed some, you know, optimization key factors into this, so that when you plug in an Apple device into the Android port, your Apple device has to have iOS 5 firmware or higher. So, you know, if you were to plug in, let's say, an old iPhone 3G that you didn't update before, it's not going to charge. It's not even an issue. This thing will shut down. It can't charge. You have to charge it on the Apple port, which, you know, I guess it really shouldn't be a big deal, because if you have 2 Apple devices, like for example an iPhone 5 and then the old iPhone 3G or an iPod Touch with an iOS that's lower than iOS 5, you know, you just plug the old iOS on the Apple port and then plug the new Apple device on the Android port, which is going to work. Okay, so moving on. If you were to, vice versa, if you were to plug in an Android phone into the Apple port, what we found is that the Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy Note 2, with the latest, you know, Android OS, works just fine on the Apple port. But plugging in the Galaxy Nexus, which had an older firmware, it still charged, but at half the speed. I mean, it was noticeably slow. Like I just saw it crawl to, you know, to charging 1 more percent. I just couldn't stand it. So I'm gonna guess it has everything to do with the actual, you know, if your phone is updated to the latest OS. That's what will determine if you can charge on both ports. I mean, that could be a big deal for some people. That may not be. That's just something you will have to know, so you don't end up leaving the product a negative review thinking you got a defective item. So, oh, one more thing about that. You can't charge I mean, I should say, you can charge an iPad and an iPhone at the same time, but you cannot charge two iPads together at the same time. The device will shut down. It's actually marked that that's well above the output capability. So the only other problem I need to point out about the USB ports is that it's not capable of charging any Bluetooth devices with a current running below 80 milliamp. At least that's what they've marked in the manual. However, should this concern you? I don't think so, because I mean, I tried this Plantronic headset and it actually charges just fine. And considering I do remember losing the original charger for this, connecting it with the micro USB made it work again, so that's one more reason that made me glad I bought this. So that's it for the USB ports that I can think of mentioning to you. Moving on to the limited number of connectors it came with: micro USB, mini USB, the old Apple standard charger, which is not going to work on the iPhone 5, and this little generic thing. I've never used this before. I think this is for the digital cameras. Yeah, I'm not sure. So that's all it comes with. Oh, with a travel pouch thing. Anyway, all in all, I personally think this is a worthy investment. I mean, for under $40 shipped, you got a ton of help from it. It's got a great shape, a great design, not that bulky, not that heavy either, but it's not light. So if you may want to keep that in mind if you're buying this for a gift for, your mother, your girlfriend, or your wife, who may not want a lot of heavy things in their purse. It will put in weight. Not that heavy, but it will still add weight, so keep that in mind. I think for practical purposes, this is good for carrying when you're traveling, going on vacation, hiking, or any outdoorsy activities that you're going to want some backup battery for. Or just leave it in your car for emergencies on the go, right? That's always a good idea. And last but not least, it comes with a 18 months warranty from Anker stateside. And from my experience, especially buying, things on Amazon, Anker actually tends to pursue any complaint people might have in reviews. They actually go out of their way to, contact you, see what they can do for you. So that's a good thing. Apart from that, I think that's it for this mini review. If you have any specific questions that I didn't cover, post a comment and I'll see if I can get the answers for you before you make that purchase. Okay?